Hello everyone. This time you will be learning how we can use cursors in Python so that we can organize and format our geospatial data. You need to download the Python script, and we are going to follow these slides in here, and I gave you the data file. So you need to download this data file and unzip them. Keep it in a folder. Keep this data file in the same folder where you have the Python file, and then keep also this PowerPoint file so that you know where you have everything. After that, you need to open this Python file on a PyCharm project. So I opened it, open my folder, and then on that folder, so you can see I have this file. Okay. So you can see I already wrote some codes for you, so you need to run this code. But then again, you can see that my workspace, that means where I kept the data file, is not in the same location as you have. That means you need to locate where you have the data. For me, I kept it in my week 7, and then I copied the location where I have this data file. So you can see these are the data files you are going to work on. So you need to copy this location and then keep it here so that we know where is your data files are. Okay. So in this data file, we have a few feature classes. So let's see what we have in that data file. So I created a map document where I saved this location of the data. I connected the data. So you need to go ahead and then connect the data. And while it's opening, then you can run the modules that we are going to use. Okay. Let's run these modules, and let's say where we have this data file. Also, that's our environment where we are working on. That means the data is located in here. Okay, and then this is, already we have to call in the license, and for avoiding overwriting, we need to run this code. So I open my ArtMap. On the ArtMap, you can see that I located my data. I connected the data file where I kept it, and then you can see we only have roads and then districts over there. We are going to use these two shapefiles, so you can investigate at first what we have in there. So many times you will see that we are going to remove these files. Otherwise, sometimes what happens is that if it's open in here, and if we write anything on the file, on our data file, let's say if I want to write anything over here, let's say I want to add a new field, that means you need to close it from here and then remove the file from here. Otherwise, it cannot add any field over here. So that means you need to be careful when you are running it. You're running any code on your PyCharm. So if you need to add anything on the field, that these are the fields, right? So we have the FID, we have the shapes, we have the shape length field, and then we have these rows. These are what we call. So that means if you need to add a new row, you need to add, maybe let's say FID number 36, and we want to add a new row, or maybe we want to add a new column, and then that column is called field. Okay, so let's remove them from here because we would like to investigate this data set on our PyCharm session. List of feature classes, that means we say that what are the list we have. Right now we did not provide any list. It's actually empty. It won't give you anything. So you can see that it's not going to produce anything because we have not run any code or any list of feature classes over here. Okay, so that means it's not going to produce anything. Then we would like to see in the district shapefile. In the district shapefile, you will see that we have 3 districts, and then we would like to call it dist. So you can see that I used list fields. So I say that I would like to list the fields, but then again at first I would like to name it as dist. That means I would like to list all the fields, that means all the columns we have, the column names we have in this district shapefile. I would like to see them, but before we do that we need to give it a name for which one we would like to print the list fields. Okay. Then I said that for each of those columns, that means the field we have, the columns we have in this shapefile, we would like to print all of them. So you can see that for FLD in dist, so that means the this FLD will go inside the district and it will go, and then it will say that for each of those field, give me the field name and type. That means what type of field we have, and then what's the name of it. Okay, so let's see what it's going to give us using the for loop. So you can see over here it says that in the district capitals we have many fields, and then FID, OID, that means it actually has 2. Those are shape geometry. We also have object ID, it's an integer. That means for each of them, FID and then shape, object ID, what are the, what's the file, what's the type of those fields. So some of them are string, you can say some of them are string, some of them are numeric. If it's numeric, whether it's integer or there is double means that we have some decimals in there. So you can also check your data over here. We investigated district capitals, open the attribute table. So you can see for some of them we have decimals. GEO3 we have decimals, some of them we have the integers, and some of them we have strings. So what we did, we just tried to see what are the fields we have and what are the types of those fields. We just listed them. So you will see that I also mentioned them in here, how we are going to list them in our ArcPy module. Okay. So over here I said list feature classes, and the feature classes where we have point type. Only wherever we have the point type, it's only going to list them. So it says that, you know what, only in the district capital shapefile you have the point type. That means the other one, the where we have the roads, it's not a point type, it's actually line type. That's why it's only gave me point type shapefile. Then you can see that list fields in a feature. So that means we are going to list again, we are going to list in the roads where we have the roads file. So we are going to print them, print all of them. That means we created the name of the shapefile, and then we would like to list the fields. You have to say that what you would like to do. Then you are going to inside this shapefile, and each of them I said that print them. You can see I wrote it differently. I said the field name and type. That means the field name and field type, that's going to give me the information. So you can see we have less in this file. We have the FID, which is actually an identification number, and then shapefiles. Shapes are in geometry, object ID, and then what are the data types. So in search cursor, what we would like to do, so you can see I added the search cursor in here. So in search cursor, we are going to do some geoprocessing workflows where we are going to commonly go record by record. Maybe we will add some record, or maybe we'll add some field, or maybe we are going to do some query. Let's say we say that speed limit is more than 55, and then wherever we have the highways, and then maybe we will say that if we have 3 data set, then we'll say that maybe more than some tree heights are more than 10 meters. So give me those areas where we have those. So that means we can do some queries as well in those fields. So in cursor, we have 3 types of cursors. Search cursor, we can read only. That means we can search through our file, and then we can update our cursor. That means we can read, write, or delete anything from our record. Be careful when you do that, because you are going to permanently remove or permanently modify them. Or we can create a new, that means we are going to add new items, and then we are going to add new values. Or maybe let's say we have 3 cities, and then we would like to add a new city, and we would like to add the new record in our data file. Okay. So in cursor, many times you will see that we are going to talk about row. Row is an object, and then it will go inside the data and then search through. Fields are properties of row objects. Fields, that means we have the columns. We will sometimes, you will see that we will use get value or set value, and then in those fields. Okay. Search cursors. Search cursor function, we will use them, and then we will search through within our data set. Let's see what we can do using the search cursor. Okay. So in our Python code, you will see that I added a search cursor. So in the search cursor example, what we would like to do, we would like to search through, but we have to add a loop. Why we need a loop? Because we are going to search through our fields or search through our rows in a data file. Because in AAB roads, we have a list of roads, and we are going to work on the length right now. So let's see what we have in there. Let's open the roads layer. Okay, so you can see that we have the roads layer. If I open the roads table, then we can see that we have 35 roads. 35, actually 36 of them. We started from 0. And you can see it's listed in here how many roads are there. 36. So over here we would like to search through each row. That's why I wrote that for the field length in this shapefile, search through and give me the value. That means print them over here. So which field we are talking about? We are talking about these length fields. We would like to print them. We would like to see what we have, the length values in this roads layer. Okay, I always remove them because sometimes it doesn't work if it's already open in here. Then we are going to search through using the get value. So I say that go to the roads layer, use the length field, and then search through this length field and give me each of those length values. Let's run them. So you can see that we have all these values, the 36 values we saw. Yep. we just printed the length values. And then we say that we can do the same thing. Previously we did the for loop, but you can say that why Suvarna is always using for loop. Now we can also use while loop. So you can see that I am using the search cursor, and then I have to use a different function. Previously I used only cursor and get value, but this time we have to use cursor.next if you use while. So it says that while row, that means search next, it will go next, 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 and then it will search through within our field. The field is our so field, we mention that in here. So if you want, you can copy and paste it in here, but it's already knows what is the field. If you are not sure any time where I added them, you can search what is field. So you will see the field is length. Okay, so that means we are going to do the same thing and we are going to print them. So that means same thing we printed. If you want to sort maybe one field, or maybe sort two together, and then you have a hierarchy. So that means within your maybe length you sort them, within your length you sort this field as well. Both are numerical values. That's why we can do that. If you want, you can always go back and see. The table, then you can see we have length, tr route. So that means these are two numerical fields we have. This one is integer, this one is the double, where we have the decimals as well. So that means we are going to search through, and then we are going to print. But then again, print what? Print after we sort them. So how we sort them? You just need to add within your search cursor, you need to add the sort fields. Sort fields, which fields you are going to sort? At first length and then a tiered route. That means it's going to follow the hierarchy. So what here I said for row in rows, that means each row we have, each record we have in this search cursor, it will go inside, and then what it will do, it will print them so that you can see it in here. If you only want to sort them, you can run this search cursor and then sort field. But if you also want to see them in here on your console, then you can write a print function. So I said give me the values. So I said give me the values, but then again length and then route, and give me the values in here. Then I run this and it says that, so you can see I actually printed them a little bit differently. So I say that at first give me length. So length will take the length value, that means the 0 will take the length value, and then route will take the second one, that means second one, the route is 999. So you can see within my length, route is sorted. So we have the smallest length, we have the largest length, but within length the route is actually sorted. What if you are going to do the same thing as we did in here, but without saying this length and route? Only you are going to print the values, just these values. So you can see these values. You can do that as well, but the problem is we don't know what is what we are actually looking at. That's why if you say length and route and then give the values and then what to insert those values, that might be better. It's just for your visualization purposes. Okay, right now what we will do, we will save a file, and then you learned a few weeks ago how we can write in a file. So we are going to write some values in a text file. So that means we should be in a writing mode because we are going to write some values in a text file. So I said which layer we are going to use. That's the shapefile we are going to use. And then we said print rows, but then again the file, where is your file? So you can say that this is the location of the file and the name of the file. So I wrote it different. I say that name of the file is results1.txt, but it's located over here. That means it's located within this folder, and the name of the file will be save data results1. So let's see. So I'm going to save it over here. In that output file, what I would like to do, I would like to save some data in that file. So you can see that I have the FID, that means in our road file, I have this field, I have the position, I have the shape length. These are the ones we are going to save, but we are going to give it some space. So we are going to save some data set actually. Then we are going to search through within our file, and then we are going to close the file after it's done. And then you can see that print rows, I always say delete row, and you can also delete rows as well if you want. That means you can see rows is none. That means we already removed them. If you don't remove them, the problem is it's going to be locked, and then you cannot visualize them in here. Let's remove the file, it might be better. So you can see that I have saved, it was not in here, so I saved that save the data set on a notepad, and then save 3 field and their values. You can see we saved everything in here, the fields you mentioned on your code. And if you say print rows, it's not going to print because we already removed them. Instead, none is there. And always remember to close your file. Okay, so we searched through, and then we got all these printouts, search, and then we created a file. And then now we would like to do some query. Whenever you do query, you need to use where clause if you want to add a condition. So we say that we are going to print some rows, but we would like to print them if this condition satisfies. Then I'm going to add that condition on my where clause. So you can see that I added a where clause. I said that the where clause, that means the condition I have is FID values in our roads should be less than 10. So I said, how about I see the printout in here. So I just printed the where clause, that means FID should be less than 10. So that means this will go through my for loop, and it will look into the FID values, and in the FID values, only if it is less than 10, that means from 0 to 9, it will only going to print those. So let's see. So I said that in my rows variable, I only have the roads layer, the shapefile, and I'm going to use the where clause. That means it's going to use the condition I added. So I added that. Then I say that go to each of those rows and print them. Print what? So whenever it's printing, so I say that print street ID, number, and length. That means it's going to print the FID, numero, and the shape length. These are the three fields it's going to print, but it's going to add the condition. Okay, so you can see that we had 36 rows, but from 36 rows it's only printed from 0 to 9 because we added a condition if ID value should be less than 10. You can do the same thing. So you can see I added another where clause, and I said that in the where clause use the shape length this time. In the shape length, whether it's less than 10,000. So before you do that, let's check it out. Let's check the roads layer. Okay. In the attribute table. So in the attribute table, you can see that we printed previously from 0 to 9. That means these are the ones. So you can see I selected them. These are the ones we printed. That we select them. Now we want to print where we have the shape length. So we say the shape length less than, actually shape length more than 10,000. That means shape length values, if you sort them, we can sort them in here. So you can see that some of these values are more than 10,000. That means I am actually looking for these FIDs where we have the shape length more than 10,000. Okay, let's go back and see. Okay, now we are going to print 3 of those. So you can see only some of them were clause where we have the shape length more than 10,000. Only those are printed here. We have FID, we have number, we have shape length. Okay. Now the difficult one is the update cursor. It's not that difficult. The problem is whenever you update anything, you are going to permanently lose your data. So maybe keep a backup of your data. What I did is that I kept a backup. So you can see I have the GIF file where I have the data. So whenever I do something, I just use the and then remove the data and then get the zip data file and then unzip them. So or you can reverse your condition. So I say that give me the shape length. It's actually more than 10,000, but wherever we have those more than 10,000, then I said how about you change the unit only in those areas. That means some of them will be in previous form, some of them will be changed. So what's the change I want? So I say that shape length, wherever we have the shape length more than 10,000, that means only for these FIDs, we would like to multiply the shape length by 0.3048. And we are going to print them again. That's going to permanently change our files, and before we do that, we need to remove it from here because if it's open, it cannot update your data. Okay, so it updated my data, and you can see FID 0, the value now is 7006 because we multiplied by 0.3048. So that's why it was previously about 23,000. Now it's changed to 7,600. We permanently lose the data. If you want to retrieve the data, what you can do it one by one, or you can write a for loop. So you can see I only did it for one of them. So I said that wherever we had those shape, but we already lost them. How about go in there and then you can use that, that's fine. So go in there and then change the wherever we have the shape length. If you know exact value of the shape length, then you can change them. So I'm actually looking at the wrong one. Okay, so in here, so I say that use this specific one. So that means wherever you have the value, the exact value is 7006. Wherever you have the exact value, go in there and then change, because previously we multiplied, now we are going to divide them. And that means only for that value we are going to go back to the original form. So you can see we can go back to the original form. That means the length has changed. Previously it was 22,987. Now it's back to the original form. If you change anything, if you want to go back, you can do that. So this is the one that you don't need, because we actually added the condition already. Okay, so we iterate through our rows and then we try to see where we have this value. Now we found the value and then we converted it. Okay, now I would like to find the list of fields. So list of fields, I would like to see what are the fields we already have. So you can see in our district capital, previously we worked on roads, now we would like to work on the district. So you will see that we have 3 capitals and we are investigating those fields. So we printed them. Now we say that in our data file, I again wrote where is the data file, so you don't need to if you already have it. So I say that in our data file, this is our workspace. In that workspace, we kept all our files in there. Now we say that go to the fields object ID and numerical. So that means in my district capitals, we have 3 districts. So you can investigate them. If you want, you can make it larger. Let's say way large, and then maybe make it other color. Green, and then now it's way large. So let's investigate the table. So you can see we have only 3 capitals, and we have those names. All the information we have is in here. Okay. Remove, and then all we say is that maybe go in there and then insert some row values. That means we are going to insert. So this time in the object ID and numero, insert some values. You can insert from here, or maybe you can also insert values in rows shape, in the shape geometry. You can also do that. So now you will see that it's going to add 2 new rows in your roads layer. Okay, so if you go back, then you will see that I actually run this twice. I need to refresh and open my roads attribute. So you can see because I run it twice, so it gave me the same thing twice. So I say that we add 2 of them, and then object ID and numero, you can see that it's added the value, but then again it did not add anything for other fields because I did not mention them. So over here I mentioned them at 30 and 41 in the object ID and numero. So for the first one, so you can see for the first one it added 3 for the object ID and 0 for the numero, and then 4 for the object ID, 0 for the numero. So that's what I did in here. I added new rows. Same thing I did. This time I said that I would like to use the district capital. In the district capital, I'm going to add 2 new cities. I said fake cities, or you can add any name. So I gave them the XY coordinates where they will be, and I said that these are the 2 fields that I'm going to add. Everything else that will be blank in my, or maybe use the 0 values in my shapefile. So that means I'm going to add 2 new cities. We had previously 3 cities. Now I added 2 more, and if I go back to my city shapefile, and I need to refresh them. District capital, we open them. Then you can see previously we had 3, now we have 2 fake cities. And if you want, you can take a look at where they are. So you will see that number 3 is over here, and number 4 is way down. So that means we created these new cities, and as an information we just said fake city 3, fake city 4, and then we said that everything else we did not add anything. Okay. That. And then now we say that how about in those cities we also say that new city 1, new city 2, and then we add that in our file. We say that that means the topo name and ID we are going to provide for these cities. Let's add them as well. If I go back, you can see if I refresh again on my district, so you can see that previously we had 4, now I added 2 more, and then those are the ones that we have ID 2223, and everything else is 0. So if I look for these IDs, you will see that those are not available because I did not add any lat long information where they will be. See, they're not there, but previously for these 2 cities I added them. That's why it was showing up in here. It's only added in our table but not in our map area. Okay, so we say that similarly you can investigate other files and then create the sketch, create the where you have the data files, where you have the feature classes, everything you can do. So if you have lost connection, and then you need to import the ArtPy, and then you need to import the OS as well, so that you can run it in, or you can close the file and then open it again if you see that it's not working, it's lost connection. If you see that the code you just run, it was running perfectly, but at some point it's not running, that means it's lost connection. I did not lose any connection, just in case I'm going to run them again. Yeah. So you can investigate the other databases as well if you want to. Okay. So I already have my dataset, so I don't need to add the new dataset, but if you need to, then you can go back and then ignore the step and then use the same path or create new database just in case. Then you can see that I created separate data file, that means district and AAB roads. So I created this S feature where I have both, and I'm going to copy some information. Okay, just a sec. So if you want, you can, you saw that in the previous one you actually copied and pasted some of these layers, so you can do so over here as well. So I say that district and capital, it's actually in my data directory, but if you want to bring it to your another directory, another geodatabase, then you can do that, but these are optional. If you want, you can run this part or not. I just did show you the same thing that we did in the previous video. Okay, so anytime if you want to see what are the feature classes we have, you can ask for the list. So you can see we have these two feature classes we just worked on. Then you saw that in the cities I added the, where is that? I added the shapes. You can also do that, and then previously I added them, so you can see I added those, and if you want you can change them. I again wrote them, and then if I want to change anything or change the location of those areas, I can do that. You can edit anything you want to. Yeah, so you can loop over and you can see what you actually have. Now we want to add new field. So that means in our file, let's say anything is open up. So in our roads layer, I would like to add a new field where I would like to add some random numbers. So I just gave it a name at first. So I said that I would like to use the ArcPy and random. That means these are the two modules I'm going to use. I already enabled ArcPy, but if you lock the connection, as I said, you can do it again. You can take a look. ArcPy and then random module. Then I said that what are my in features, what's the random field I'm going to call. That's the new field that's going to be added in my shapefile. And the expression I have is rand.random number between 0 and 10. So you can use any values. You can see 10 to 20, 20 to 30, or maybe some decimals. So I said that I'm going to add a new field. The name of the field is rand value, and the values should be between 0 and 10. And I am going to add it using the add field management, where I'm going to add it in my in feature, that means in my roads shapefile. And the type of the data, I have the random value I'm going to add, but that's the long style, that's the long data type I'm going to add. And then at the end you have to say that in the code block is the import random, that means random number is going to added in your shapefile. Do that, and then go back again and then refresh them. Then in the district, in the roads layer, if you open the attribute table, so you will see that the random number is added is from 0 to 10. So that means sometimes they actually repeated those random numbers. Okay, so you can investigate this. You can add numerical value. So let's say I would like to add this field, and then the numerical value I'm going to add is 5. It should be double style. That means you could have the integer, or you could have the decimals as well, and you can add them in your data file. You can check out whether it works. Also, if you want to add date and time, so you can say date and time. You can investigate the date and time anytime, and you can add that in your data if you want to. And then you can see that if you want to add length of those roads in kilometer, Then you can say that where you want to calculate the length of the shapes. So you can say that what's the unit and what's the feature you want to add, and then at the end you have to calculate them. So that means it has field where you want to add, what's the name of the field in your data file, what's the expression is the shape length of kilometer, that's the code we need to add for calculating the kilometer length in kilometer, and then that's Python code we are going to add. So if you calculate that, then you will see that on your data file. Let's refresh them and open it. That means length in kilometer is shown here. Okay. Then you can check whether you can add date, you can add date and time, anything you want to add. So you will see that in this link, I also gave you in the in here as well. So if you need to look at what are the codes we can add in the add field, so you will see that I added all these parameters, so you can investigate them. The parameters I added, and you can see what are the fields they added in here. That means similar items. So you can see I added double the numeric data type. You can add text, you can add date and time. So these are the ones I added. Okay, so you can also take a look at these links I gave you if you want to know more. And then you can see that I also added date if you want to add dates. That's it. Try yourself and change the code, add different fields, and then add different rows, and then investigate them in your ArtMap. Many times you will see that in the ArtMap it's actually locked. That means you can close the ArtMap and open it at a later time, or you can close your Python file and then open it again and then see, because sometimes it's locked, because whenever you are running anything it's locked, or whenever you are changing anything, then it's not going to work on if it's open on your map area. That's it. Thank you.